two, one. We're on.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. We were away for a month, and I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful vacation. More importantly, a very safe vacation as we went through the holidays for the 4th of July. And before we get into the program this evening, as we always do with our executive producer, Frank Carroll, he always has a very, very important message to give to all of us. I know tonight's no exception. Frank?
Yeah, I hate to start out New Year with sad news, but on Monday afternoon, a young Pennsylvania trooper, 20 years of service, was working I-81 in Lackawanna County. As he observed, a tractor trailer in front of him blew a interior tire, which is a safety problem. So he pulled the truck over, and while he and the driver were assaying the damage, another truck came along, lost control, and hit both of them, and both of them were killed. Mike Perharick was a 20-year veteran of the Pennsylvania State Police. He was a safety officer, which means he was good at his job. He was a trainer, and our prayers and thoughts go out to him, his parents, his family, and our fellow troopers.
No question about that. Amen is correct. And of course, the Fightnwords Network is back in business as we start another Wednesday night. Looking forward to it. Roy Cummings, as always, is in Tampa, Florida. And Billy Warndell will join us from Philadelphia. And so we sort of roll around the dial talking about all different types of sports. So many things going on all at the same time. Stevie K is going to chat with us about baseball this evening. And Mike Zimzak, our soccer expert, just coming off the World Cup annihilation, and we'll talk about that one as well. But we'll start off in Tampa, Florida, with Roy Cummings. Roy, before we get to the Yankees and what's happening right there with the big series going on, I can't watch it tonight because it's on Prime. I don't get Prime, so I don't have a chance to see the Yankees and the Rays tonight. But a couple of things I'd like to have you comment about as we start the program before we get down to the main event. A lot of things we never talk about, and tennis is one of them. Wimbledon, one of the big tournaments in the world, and Coco Golf won yesterday to get into the Wimbledon semis, and that's a rarity because she's had a tough time there, but she's moving into the semis tomorrow, and we'll have a chance to see her. But more dramatic was Djokovic. 5 hours and 15 minutes, a 5-set match that was just unbelievable, and 39 years of age, and he now goes into the semifinals tomorrow. And there are two events that have you guys comment. I don't know how much you watch tennis at all, but terrific matches. One with Coco Golf, and of course the one with Djokovic yesterday was just unbelievable. You have a chance to see it, Roger? You're schooling now, so I don't know if you would.
Yeah, well, excuse me, still working, because they had the driver training school. But I did watch some over the weekend from Wimbledon, and on the women and also the men's, and it was really interesting. I mean, there was a lot of it that I watched went back and forth, and then I was watching soccer. So it's been a full schedule. With just a little bit of baseball. But you're right. I went on at Wimbledon. What has been going on at Wimbledon has been terrific on great tennis.
Roy, have you had a chance to watch it all, or are you wrapped up with what's happening with the Rays and Yankees and what's happening with the Rays overall?
Yeah, I haven't seen a bit of tennis. If you had to mention, well, I knew Wimbledon was going on, and I just haven't had the section. Not that I probably would, but maybe if the finals come around. But anyway, I'm sure it's great tennis, but I haven't seen any of it, so sorry, can't help you there.
Okay, we'll bypass that. We'll go right to the Rays and Yankees because you talk about bad baseball. We're seeing some bad baseball with the New York Yankees. 17 strikeouts back-to-back nights at the hands of the Rays. One game the Yankees won with 3 home runs and 3 runs. And the second game last night, the Rays won with a few home runs. But it's been an interesting series, although not necessarily well played, Roy.
Well, I don't know that it hasn't been well played. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and what you see is ugly, and not because I'm rooting for the Rays. I see it as beautiful in a way. I mean, first of all, history was made over the last two nights in Tampa Bay when the Rays struck out 17 batters in two straight games. That hasn't happened since, I think, something like 1900 in Major League Baseball, and it was incredible. You're not going to, granted, the Yankees are not throwing up their best lineup right now. Aaron Judge is not in the lineup. They got a couple of guys that might not normally be in the lineup. But at the end of the day, it's still a very good team. It's the Yankees. It's a really important series at this time of the year. Yankees trying to get back into the into first place here in the AL East, and they're chasing the Rays, and they can't get there. And they can't get there against pitchers who you really have to be following the game to know who Griffin Jack and Ian Seymour are, especially since both of them are former relief pitchers who've been moved into the starting rotation for the Rays, who are dealing with some injuries, as most teams are. But for guys like Ian Seymour and Griffin Jack to lead the way in a 34 strike effort over the course of two nights, to me, is a beautiful thing. And it's one of the things that makes baseball so interesting, is that here are two guys that, again, a lot of people probably haven't heard of, certainly not Ian Seymour. If you follow the game closely enough, you've probably heard of Griffin Jack. Has been around a while as a reliever for the Twins, now as the Rays. But he was a guy who got off to a horrible start for the Rays. Was one of the reasons they were struggling early on, because he was struggling to find his way. And they put him into the rotation, and all of a sudden, he's throwing 4 or 5 innings to start, and he's striking out, 8, 9, 10 batters each start as well. So, and not only that, but look, the Rays are playing some. The bottom line is the Rays are playing some darn good baseball right now. The Yankees, maybe not the case, but certainly they've struck out a lot. And Aaron Boone made it clear. He said, look, we got to be better at getting the ball in play. I mean, teams go through these stretches here. But nothing like this. And, now you've got what the Rays have on the mound tonight in Shane McClanahan is their real strikeout guy. And we'll see how he does in this one. We're in the second inning here, and a couple of strikeouts for him already. But I'll tell you what, the Yankees are struggling so much right now to hit the ball and make contact that in the bottom of the first, or rather the top of the second, they try to sacrifice, squeeze bunt to get a run in. I mean, they're just trying to get a run in any way they can right now. So they're really hurting without a couple of their top bats in the lineup right now, especially Aaron Judge. So that's again, I saw it as kind of a really interesting and beautiful thing rather than ugly baseball. So I don't think there's a lot of ugly baseball. You might be mistaking the Yankees with the Mets, who had the 3 error play, 3 balls thrown away on one play last night, and also so maybe you got that mixed up with that. I'm not sure, but Yankees just staying with it.
I'm not getting mixed up with that. I still think that when I was growing up, I mean, it might have changed the game, Roy. That maybe you know something I don't know, but I always thought that we're only 27 outs in a game. And if you strike out 17 times, you're not putting the ball in play anywhere. And that's not very good baseball. I mean, two nights in a row. 2 nights in a row.
All right, this hasn't changed. There's still 27 outs. 17 strikeouts 2 nights in a row is unheard of. It hasn't happened. It's a major league. I mean, it's incredible. It's a record. So it's something, it's a unicorn. We've never seen it before. So that's number one. But number two, don't forget, the Yankees won the first game. They lost last night, but they won the first game despite striking out 17 times. So, again, I'm not sure that's ugly baseball if there's not a lot of hitting involved. But look, it's much like tennis. It's a power game, and you've got a lot of guys throwing 100+ miles an hour, and these days, and that's kind of it's the way it goes. Sometimes you just that catches up to you, and so we'll see again. Look, you got 2 strikeout pitchers on the mound tonight with Garrett Cole and Shane McClanahan. We may see another record here come out of this game, depending on how many batters strike out in this game. For each team. So let's see what happens. But again, I don't think it was ugly baseball. Don't forget, the Yankees won one of those games. If you win that way, they may call that winning ugly, but that's usually a pretty good thing as long as you win.
Well, I'll tell you, if you don't put the ball in play more times than that, they're not going to win too many games. I don't care what the Yankees hit the home runs or not.
And Aaron Boone said the exact same thing. He said, we've got to be better at putting the ball in play right now. And you saw them, making an adjustment. Look, teams go through slumps like this. There was a stretch, a month ago when the Cubs couldn't hit, at all. And they became one of the first teams, or one of the few teams, one of the only 3 teams, I think, in Major League Baseball to ever have 2 10-game winning streaks and a 10-game losing streak. And during their 10-game losing streak, they were hitting about 117 with runners in scoring position. So, these things, again, this is baseball. It ebbs and flows. It happens. You see stretches here where guys, struggle to hit. The whole team struggles to hit. Sometimes hitting is everybody catches the vibe and everybody's hitting. And then you have days where, it goes the other way and nobody can hit. And that's kind of where the Yankees are now. But let's see how they make out in this one. And, still 0-0 in this game. They can still, rectify this thing and even win the series despite, 34 strikeouts in 2 games. So let's see where it goes.
Well, I'll tell you, it's very interesting to me. You guys don't get a chance to see the postgame show on Yes, obviously, for the most part down in Florida. But Goldsmith was on the program last night after the game, and he stayed on with the reporters. I want to say, I don't have a watch on or anything, but I'm going to say he stayed on 7 or 8 minutes. And he talked about the game, and he talked about the fact that he was 39 years old, and he talked about the fact that he struck out 4 times in the game, and the fact that he has now gone 0 for 30 as the Yankee starter at first base, and what that means. And he spent all this time with the reporters explaining exactly the way he approaches every single game, and that he would be ready to play again today. Never walked away from anybody. Answered questions. I'm going to say it had to be at least 7-8 minutes that he gave a full rundown of what he thought the Yankees were doing right now, what he thought they were doing wrong, and how he was a part of it. It was terrific. And the other one was Wheeler in Philadelphia. He struck out 14 last night, which tied his major league record. He did that once before as well, struck out 14, but he did it in 7 innings. And yet, he was not selected for the All-Star game. Now, let me throw this in. I think he's going to be in the All-Star. Steve came on a little bit later on. I think he will be on the All-Star team. Somebody will drop out somewhere, and they'll get him on. But here's a guy who's, 10-1, struck out 14, leading pitcher in the National League for the Cy Young Award, and here he's not going to be on the All-Star team. Now, Roger, you what do you think?
Well, a couple things. Number one, you're exactly right, because he missed the first month of the season because of recovering from that rib removal. Okay, so he's only been,
really good.
3 months, and that's number one. Number two is you talk about bad baseball. We saw it the night before last. Phillies, Pirates. The Pirates scored in every inning. First time that has happened against the Phillies since I think it's 1903. So since they started, they have any records. That to me is bad baseball. When you allow a team to score in every inning. But, we can debate bad baseball and everything. Roy, I just want to tell you, the reason I watch some tennis, 2 of my 2 grandsons are both tennis players. So I wanted to be able to talk to them a little bit about tennis. So there you go.
Hey, guys, look, there was a time when I wouldn't miss a match no matter where they were playing. Wimbledon or down in Miami, doesn't matter where it was. I was a massive tennis fan. I've lost real interest in the game because it's become such a power game, such a serve game, in my opinion. There's not enough, serve and volley going on. And to be honest with you guys, I've been so locked into to the World Cup that the time I have to watch TV during the day has been devoted to that, and same with the, when I'm watching the night. So, that's why. I mean, I'm not knocking tennis. I don't think the game's as good as it used to be. There's some great players involved. I wish Serena Williams could have gone a little further as a singles player, but it's good that she's back, in my opinion. But the game needs some star power. Certainly the women's side does. Maybe even the men's side. I mean, you kind of get the same guys every time, but and they're great players. Not sure they're great personalities, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not knocking tennis. Just haven't had a chance to watch it. And I've been watching a lot of World Cup and baseball, so that's where that's been.
Well, it'll be a good match because Sinner's last year's winner, and he's going to be going up against Djokovic later tonight or early tomorrow morning. And we will get a chance to see it unless you're up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. But I agree. It has been a power game. It continues to be a power game, but so is baseball. Baseball is a power game from the mound. So we're going in different directions, but they're going to the same field. But let's go back for a second because I certainly want to get some of your observations on the World Cup and the dismal display that we saw. What turned out to be the field of 16. Roy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's really sad in a way because I think the whole country was wrapped up in the World Cup in a big way. We had obviously so many people coming over from all over the world to see their teams play, and I think the country is really caught up in it. And then here we go into the round of 16, and the U.S. picks that opportunity to play its worst game in maybe a couple of years. There was a lot of talk early on about the U.S. Having the team, a team strong enough to certainly get past the round of 16, possibly even into the quarterfinals. Obviously the quarterfinals and maybe even the semifinals. Maybe even heard some people talking about, hey, they could win this if everything goes just right for them. They play up to their capabilities. They could actually win this thing. And there was reason to believe it. I mean, early on in the tournament, they were playing really good soccer. They played a bunch of, second string guys mostly. And in the last game of the pool play, lost that. And, but they came back strong the next time around. But, I don't know, guys. It was, for whatever reason, they just seemed completely out of sync and out of, in the game against Belgium. They just didn't seem to have the same drive, the same, they just didn't play at the same high level that we've seen them play at through most of this tournament early on, and not sure what that was. I almost wonder if the striker that was suspended with the red card, if he had stayed off the field, or if the suspension had held, I wonder if there would have been just a little bit more. Hey, we got to show them. We can, let's go out and show everybody we can win without this guy. With them on the field, I wonder if there was just maybe they relaxed a little bit. Maybe they just weren't good enough to beat Belgium. But you talk about ugly play. Well, their effort in that game against Belgium was kind of ugly. It was by any stretch was it their best effort, and it was kind of sad to see because I think we could expect a little bit more out of that team. We didn't get it.
And the fallout has really been devastating because, there was so much talk about this coach was going to be retained because he did so well in the early rounds. And this was a reorganization of the whole soccer program in the United States. And they gave him, $3.5 million to come over and sign. And the only thing was that he forgot to bring a goaltender with him. You and I could have done as well as Freeze. I mean, that was really embarrassing. Roger?
Yeah, he just ruined his reputation as being a quote-unquote possible superstar with that lack of performance. But you're right, Don. There's a big change going on in U.S. soccer. I believe the new headquarters is down here in Georgia. I think that's what I read. They showed the complex and everything. But, Roy, that's a good point. I thought about that, too. If they had not reversed the red card, would that have made a difference on the team as far as their performance? We'll never know, but the bottom line is that they did not produce up to expectations. They got knocked out in the 16 last time. with a smaller group of countries. And it's a shame because people are going to remember that and you're going to take criticism for lack of effort.
But you know what? That being said, Roger and Don and Frank, I think U.S. soccer, the men's team anyway, has taken a big step forward. I think we know that now. It's a good team. It didn't play its best game against Belgium. It played its worst game in a long time against Belgium. Whatever the circumstances that led to that can certainly be debated on and on. But I do think that they're headed in the right direction. There's some really good athletes on that team. I think it's a deep team. I think going forward, look, it's a kick in the head for sure to lose in the round of 16 again. But you know what? They're better than that. I think they're better than that. And I think the next time they play in an international competition, whether it's CONCACAF, whatever it might be, whatever comes up next for them, I think they've got an opportunity to right the ship and get people excited about them again. It won't be as big as the World Cup for 4 years, but there's international tournaments all the time. And if they can start showing up in those tournaments a little bit better, I think it'll be an indication they are on the right track. I really believe they are. And I would hate to see them, blow it all up again and start over. I think maybe retaining the coach as long as he's willing to be a part of this wouldn't be a bad idea. Because I like the team in general. I think it's a good team. I think a lot of people would argue that it's the best team we've fielded in a long time. And if you can find ways to make it a little bit better, absolutely go for it. But right now, I wouldn't want to blow it up. I think they've made a lot of good progress here over the last couple of years, and I think they can keep going forward.
Roy, I'll say this after the fact. You and I defer to your expertise in hockey more than anybody that we have on the show on a regular basis. You followed hockey. You followed the Lightning since they came into the league. You've been a close part of the National Hockey League. You and I disagreed during the course of the season many times on whether or not penalties should be called, or whether that, especially in the playoffs, should penalties be called, or should they let the players decide and let them play? I'm a strong believer, and I have been in my entire career of broadcasting. The rules are the rules. You play by the rules. If there's a foul, you call it. Well, I think the same thing here. I think what happened here was a real blow against the United States, that they allowed, after they spent 2 days in every major paper and every major circulation saying that the rules cannot be challenged, they cannot be changed. There's no way that this player can play in this game against Belgium. And what do? They have a special committee and make a committee say, "Oh yeah, well that's okay. We're going to waive that." No, there's no basis for it. But we're going to make it, regardless of whether it was right or wrong. That was the ruling. That you got to abide by it. That's it. That's the way it is with me. You don't go back and say, "Oh no, the guy made a mistake." So I disagree. I think it killed them. I think it ruined them for letting them play.
I'm not going to disagree. Look, I didn't think it was worthy of a red card to begin with. I
No.
Accidental contact.
No, I agree. Yeah,
Nobody thought so. Nobody thought so.
But once the red card is in, and look, the officiating's been very inconsistent. I mean, I think they've clamped down a little bit since the early rounds, because I saw some games early on where it was really physical, and they were letting guys get away with, not murder, but something close to it, at least in soccer terms. But here you have a situation where it's clearly incidental contact, and granted, it leads to an injury, but it's certainly not a red card. Now, yes, we all agree on that. I think every soccer, aficionado or even casual fan could agree with that. But I'm with you. I don't like the fact that it was overturned. I think the rules are the rules. I'm not sure how it got overturned. Not sure who influenced the committee. There's certainly a lot of conversation about that, our president's role in that. But what I don't like even more about that is, well, who's to keep, the Prime Minister of England?
Hello.
Hey, Billy, how you doing?
Yes.
Good. Hey,
Well, I'm all set to go with Don Henderson.
there we go. Before we, I meant Virgin, I keep forgetting to ask you, how's Mickey Berge doing?
Good. I had dinner with her and Dick Vermeil with his wife.
Oh, nice.
2 weeks ago. She's doing well. I think
Good.
she's in Idaho now
Oh, good. Good.
with Bill's brother.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you, and I keep forgetting.
Yeah, well,
Good.
she's doing well.
Okay, I'm going to merge you in.
All right.
An agreement. I would have liked to have seen them play down the man, that man in particular, obviously not down 10, but down, that man and that player, and just see how they rally without it. To me, that's a better test of this team's mettle than anything, and I think they probably would have played a much better match. Whether they would have won or not, I don't know. But yeah, Don, I'm right there with you, 100%.
Roger.
Well, I was going to say we had Mike Simzak on, later in the program, and the soccer expert, but he has said for many years that FIBA is messed up. Okay, and there was always controversy about the president, and hey, listen, I am far from even a novice about FIBA. I really am. I mean, I've learned more about it because of the World Cup, but I know very little about it. All I can see is that they control everything. When I see that they at Seattle, they had the Lumen Stadium. The Lumen is covered up. In Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz is not allowed to be Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's Atlanta Stadium. Same thing in Philadelphia. And I think this is too much. But, who am I? I only see what I see about the control of FIBA.
Fellas, before we leave it, Messi did just the opposite. He took his team to a 3-2 win out of nowhere. Roy, your comment on that one?
Yeah, it's just remarkable. If you haven't had a chance to watch Argentina play, take the opportunity, because who knows how much, will he play again in the next World Cup? Hard to know. Ronaldo's out now, and anybody that got a chance to see him play is probably feels fortunate that they did. It's the same with Messi, and he's on the world stage here. It's not like this is a game against, Inter whoever here in the United States, and he's playing for Miami or Inter Miami. This is a real deal, and he just has an incredible way of finding ways to bring his team, forward when it needs to. I mean, yesterday's game, where they're down 2-0 to Egypt, and it just looks like, of all teams, Egypt is going to knock out the world champion. But then here comes Messi and rallying the team around him and making everybody around him better and creating opportunities that, other guys cash in on. But, he had such a part of that. It was just incredible. Again, you don't have to be a big soccer fan to see it all develop and see what his impact is. And we're fortunate to see it. And you know what? I was kind of rooting a little bit for Egypt there, just because it would have been such a great story. Always root for the best story, not necessarily the best team. And to me, that would have been a great story. But I'll tell you, the opportunity to watch Messi play again, as the games get more important and the opponents get to be more viable. That's going to be a blessing for us all. So enjoy it, guys. It's going to be fun.
Roger?
Yeah, I agree, Roy. Some of the games that we've seen are just phenomenal. And I didn't even know about, of course, I haven't had time to go into Atlanta, what they have, the FIFA fan experience. And it's been on for many days. I mean, it's not just when there's a game. And it's just like, you go to the All-Star Game, Fan Fest, the Super Bowl, etc. And it's in Centennial Olympic Park. So it's not only inside, it's outside. And which I think is nothing but good to help the game of soccer. And I really see in the future, I hope that this will continue to grow, like you said, in this country, and just get more popular than it is now.
Hey guys, I'll leave you with this. I'll leave you guys with this. I know you got other guests coming. Look, there's a lot of people out there. The U.S. for whatever reason has never really caught on to soccer. in the way it is. I mean, look, kids play it because it's an activity they can go out and, run their heads off, and they love that. But, in terms of, a particular, a spectator sport, it's nowhere near what, football is, what basketball is, what baseball is, even what hockey is. And there's a reason for that. It's not a high-scoring game, but the skill level that you see in these games, 0-0, you can still marvel at the skill level of these players. What they're doing, all with their feet, guys, all with their feet. And,
Right.
It sounds simple, but it's so true, and it's amazing. I'll tell you what, even 0-0 games, they're not boring. They're certainly not boring. They're incredibly exciting, and even though there's not a whole lot of scoring opportunities for some of them, the display of skill is just something to marvel at. And so if you haven't seen it, take an opportunity, pick a game, watch it, and I'm sure you'll probably enjoy it.
Well, all-time records over 60 million watched a couple of games, and which is an all-time for Fox and an all-time for soccer. So they did jump on the bandwagon and try to follow America against Belgium. It just didn't work. And but before you leave, Roy, give me a score on the Yankee game, because I haven't been able to watch it. It's on Prime, and I don't have it on Prime.
1-0 Yankees, 1-0 Rays in the top of the fourth against the Yankees.
All right, we'll go. Thank you very much, Roy.
Thank you, Roy.
We'll do it again next week. Glenn, hope you had a great vacation.
I did. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, we'll get down to Philadelphia now. Billy Wardell, one of the leading sportscasters in the metropolitan Philadelphia area, and been there for so many years in so many different places. Well, he goes from San Francisco to Philadelphia to San Francisco and back and forth, the Eagles and all the Phillies and 76ers, everything that happens in the Philadelphia market. Billy, welcome to the show once again. And first of all, give me an observation of what was the outcome today on Wheeler getting 14 strikeouts to tie his career record, but more importantly, not getting on the All-Star team.
Well, first of all, the All-Star team is no longer what it used to be. I mean, let's be honest. 3 pitchers bailed out because they're pitching on Sunday. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Wheeler should have made the All-Star team. They should have found a way to get him on the All-Star team. All right. Some people said because, well, he may pitch on Saturday. Look, I'm tired. You only want a guy to pitch maybe an inning in an All-Star game. We're not asking him to pitch 3 innings. I remember one All-Star game, I believe 67. Catfish Hunters pitched 5 innings in the game. 5. This doesn't happen anymore.
No.
So, the All-Star game has lost a lot of its luster. Guys pulling out, not wanting to play. I mean, it used to be the pride of the National League. It's the pride of the American League. And it's not that anymore. I mean, interleague play has killed the All-Star game. I mean, it used to be just the one time you could see the stars from either the National or American League. Now you see all the stars all the time. I hate interleague play. And people argue with me until the cows come home, but I hate it. And you were talking about soccer, FIFA, the NCAA, International Olympic Committee, 3 of the worst organizations in all of sports. They are unbelievably about one thing, making money. We're seeing what FIFA's done with all this signage they have taken down. I mean, there was one story in which they had a Heinz bottle in the press room, and they made them put tape over it. Come on, give me a break, all right?
Unbelievable.
It's all about money. How about parking for FIFA? At the link, I understand, was $200, but Dallas, they gave you a real good deal, $500 a park. Give me a break. This is just
Roger, what do they have in Atlanta? What do they have in Atlanta, Roger?
Same thing, and also in New York. Look at they interviewed the people. Bill, you saw it. We all saw it coming on New Jersey Transit to the Meadowlands. $95 one way on a ticket. Maybe it was round trip. Listen,
For a $12 ticket.
Yeah,
That's what it is. That's what it is during the week.
Yeah.
If you go during the week, it's $12.
Yeah, because I know from Hamilton it used to be $15 round trip to New York, to Penn Station. And it's ridiculous. I mean, you're right. I agree with you, Bill. All about money, the dollars.
that's the unfortunate part about it. But look, the Phillies are playing good baseball right now. They've got to keep beating up on the lesser likes in baseball. It's disappointed in the Royals series. The Royals are not a very good team, and they're really hit with a lot of injuries. But now they're playing the Reds, but they're facing this kid, Chase Burns, who's awfully, awfully good. So if they take 2 out of 3 from the Reds, they consider that a very good series. Then they have the woeful Detroit Tigers. Are they going to trade Struble at the trade deadline? Are they going to keep him? Remember, he's a free agent after this year, I believe, and he's not going to give Detroit a hometown discount. He's going to be looking for big, big bucks.
Bill, I'd like to see you and Roger debate this one a little bit because early on in the season, when the Phillies were 15 games under 500, we're saying, holy smokes, the National League East is not going to even be a deciding factor. Now, all of a sudden, Roger, your Atlanta Braves, they can't win games either. And 2 games spread between the top and the bottom. And as Billy just indicated, the Phillies play much better baseball. Not great baseball, but they're playing better. But the Braves are just awful.
They are. Go ahead, Bill.
The Braves have been beset with a lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries. The Phillies have been very fortunate. They haven't had any, with the exception of Garcia, who went down with that injury to his arm. They haven't had a major injury to one of their key players.
Right.
That's how the Phillies would react if they would lose a guy like Turner or Harper or Schwarber or even a guy like Brandon Marsh. It would be a different game entirely. So it's very, very difficult to say, well, the Braves are done. No, they're not done. But the thing is that the Phillies have to make hay and take advantage of this situation. I mean, they're not going to go away. I think the Braves will regroup and be a real viable force the second half of the year. But the division's getting better. You have the Nationals and you have Washington, who are very good teams. The Mets, they're a train wreck. It proves you can't buy a World Series.
Roger?
Well, Bill, I'm watching the Phillies game on ESPN, and this ties me into a question I had for you. I've been following Riconis Jr., and I'm just wondering, and Crawford just hit a triple to follow up Riconis, so the Phillies are up 1-0. But I also, when I saw about the pitcher you're talking about for the Reds, that brings me to another question. The Phillies picked a pitcher, college pitcher, big time, and I heard he's, when I track him, I forget the name, but he's doing really well. That's him, through the minor system. I don't understand why other teams can get bring up a pitcher like this kid that he was with Tennessee for a couple of years and then Wake Forest. That was 2 years ago, and he's a great pitcher doing really well in the major leagues. Why can't the Phillies develop a pitcher like that who's at that level coming out of college or even a higher level? I don't get it.
Why can't the Phillies develop players, period?
Period. You're right.
I mean, here is the deal. The Dodgers, some years, don't have a first-round pick. How do the Dodgers have the 23rd, third or fourth best minor league system, and they're picking way down the line and may not even pick in the first round? So tell me how that happens. I mean, this player development was an earmark of the great Rudy Carpenter, Paul Owens, Dallas Green regime. They wanted to identify and build through the minor league system. I mean, tell me the last couple players who really have been produced by the Phillies in the last 10 years, 12 years.
Well, Bill, they thought they had him with Painter. They thought Painter was going to be that player, but unfortunately...
bothers me about Painter and other guys. Some people get on radio after one start or two starts, and they have them going to Cooperstown. All right? Going to Cooper. How do you do that, Don? You follow baseball, right? Or you follow baseball, just like Crawford. After a week of the season, they had him inducted into Cooperstown. You can't make stupid comments like that. And I mean, they're stupid. You got to say, hey.
Well, I will say this, and I will say this, that Crawford all of a sudden has come alive in the last week and a half or 2 weeks. He had a disastrous, really, most of the first half. He was, but Roger just mentioned it. We're watching now the game. Phillies up 1-0, but the triple was by Crawford. And what, he had 3 hits last night, 2 the night before. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit more effectively.
Well, I'd like to see Crawford at least once a game.
Yeah, you talked about Bowen talking about that, Bowen.
Bowen talked about that on my show, your show. You put the defense on edge when he's at the plate. Now, the third base is cheating in on the grass, all right? And the speed kills. Crawford just, the ball got away from the catcher, and Crawford scored. When you have that type of speed, you put tremendous pressure on a defense. Tremendous. I mean, and I would expect down the road that the Phillies would love to have a lineup like this. Crawford, Turner batting second, Harper third, Schwarber fourth. Now you really have a good lineup, solid lineup. Speed at the top of the order with Crawford and Turner, and the big boppers, Harper and Schwarber at the bottom of the lineup. And
Roger? I agree, and I want to say 2 things, Bill. You're exactly right on player development. I was at the Gwinnett Stripers, the Braves AAA, against the Memphis Redbirds last night with Don and I, friends with RG. So we were there, and we were talking about the Cardinals have always been great on development, because they take them from low A and they train them the same way. And that's what we were talking about watching that game. But the other thing is I love that lineup, the way you laid it out. But I also wanted to ask your opinion. 2 things. What do you think the effect has been on Don Mattingly as the manager? And also, what do you think about Racones getting to play more? Or one of the other outfielders playing.
I've always been a proponent. If you have a player you bring up from the minor league, you got to find out if he's going to stay or Smith. And you don't find out after 20 at bats. You got to give young players an opportunity to grow. You don't put them on the bench. You don't pinch hit with them. I go back to the great Leo DeRocher when Willie Mays went 0 for 21. And the media said, you going to pull Willie out of the lineup? He says he's my center fielder if he hits 100 or 300. And you have to give these young guys confidence. If they're bouncing in and out of the lineup, they're not going to gain any confidence. No. And that's a big factor going forward. I mean, if you want to develop players, you got to find out. Now, I know when Larry Bowa came up and the Bull came up, they were a woeful franchise, the Phillies I'm talking about. Yeah. But they played every day, and they developed. Schmidt, look, Schmidt's first year, 196. A lot of people wanted to throw him off the deck. Yeah. But they said, we're going to stick with him. You've got to find out about players. It's no good to put them on the bench after an 0 for 4. Let's find out about the player. Let's find out what he has inside of him going forward.
Well, Bill, that was another thing that Bo was talking about with Crawford. You got to put him out there and let him play. You can't every day. Every day. You can't just pull him in and out, put him in a game, 2 games, 1 game. You got to let him play. That's what you're saying about some of the other players, and that's what Bo said about Crawford. If he's as good as they think he's going to be, he's got to be out there playing
every day.
They've done that with Mark. They've done it with Spock. You got to find out if they can face right and left-handed pitching. That's the key. Yeah, you can have a platoon here and there, or give a guy a blow. But I believe if you're going to find out about a player, he's got to get 200-300 at bats. A young player, especially. Then you can make a determination.
Roger?
No, I agree. I'm looking at this kid, Rangel. He seems to have, at least from what you see in the first couple innings, some pretty good stuff. and you know more about them than I do. I mean, some of these fellows on the Phillies roster, I just am not familiar with because they're at AAA, like you said. You know, one day and then they're up in the big league. Well, what about Mattingly? What do you think he is the reason that they turned it around?
I think he told them, look, you got the manager fired. It's now up to you guys to turn it around. And certainly they responded. Of course, the one thing that was good about the Phillies was the into the starting rotation, Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler become a factor. Since he's come back, the Phillies have played at a very, very high level. And that's so important. I mean, you know.
Philly, they got to be scared about Nola. They got to be concerned about Nola, though.
Don, he's like the Dow Jones Industrial. You don't know what you're going to get from one outing to the next. And they gave him all that money. They gave him a lot of money, and they still have 4 more years of the contract. That's not easy to get rid of. It's just like all these contracts, the Turner contract, the Harper contract, Schwarber to a certain extent. Are they going to be around in 3 years? You know, the most productive years in a player's career, and I don't care with all the new equipment they have, the new nutrition, the dietitians and all, but here's the deal. When you have players 36, 37, their skills start to retard. And when that happens, they're in the movement backwards as far as a player. Look at Verlander, who retired today. Made 1 start this year. 1 start. All right? He said, look, I just don't have any more gas in the tank. So, I mean, that's the problem when you have these multi-year deals. When you give a guy a 10 to 12-year deal, this is going to come back to bite you, and you know where.
You're not going to see many more of those. They're starting to learn this as they go along.
Don, I'd rather give a young player who's on the come, 20, 21 years old, and you feel as though he's going to be a star. You're paying for past performances when you give guys long-term deals, like
right.
10, 12 years. You're making a big mistake. The Dodgers said to Harper, you can have $200 million for 5 years. Take it or leave it. Boris said no. And, of course, Boris played John Middleton like a fiddle. That was the problem. Once he gets his claws into the owner, it's done. Look at Kevin Brown with the Dodgers. Boris, $105 million, $250 million for A-Rod for 10 years. How'd that work out for Texas? They didn't win a World Series. Neither did the Dodgers with Kevin Brown. Will the Phillies win a World Series with Bryce Harper? What are your feelings?
Well, I think, too, that Schwarber's one that you have to really admire because not only is Schwarber a great guy in the clubhouse from what everybody says, you're closer to a Philly, you're there every day, I'm not. But Schwarber's influence within the clubhouse, but more importantly, he's hitting even a little bit, maybe 20 points higher than he has hit over the last couple of years, but he's also maintained the stroke to hit home runs. I mean, he's the leading home run hitter in the National League. I mean, he came into the season not saying I signed a big contract. He came into the season saying, I got to perform.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's the key thing. And it's very important in the postseason. Turner, Schwarber, Harper have got to step it up. And
yeah, Turner's struggling. He's really having a tough.
Well, he had a great year last year.
Let's be honest. Turner is not a shortstop anymore. He's an outfielder. And they're probably going to use Sosa, and Bohm is represented by Scott Boras. And if he has a good year, he's gone. And the guy they were counting on to be their third baseman of the future has got back problems, Aiden Miller.
Yeah. Have you heard, what's the latest on Miller? Is he playing at all?
No, not until, I think, August, middle of August.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the degree of difficulty with the back?
Well, Don, you know this as well as anybody, and Roger. The back is a funny thing. Older people have problems with back. But when you're 20 years old, 21 years old having back problems, doesn't that send up a red flag?
It certainly does. No question about that.
I mean,
Let's go back to Painter. Again, you're much closer to it every day than we are. I realize that the operation and the rehabilitation and so forth and so on. You think it's just a matter that he needs more conditioning to get a little more speed into his not only his delivery but the delivery of his ball. It dropped off like 3 miles an hour. What do you think about what's going on there?
I think he's at best right now a fourth starter in any rotation. All right, that's where we are. He has to be able to control his knuckle curve. He's got to keep the ball out of the middle of the plate. That's where he's going to get killed. He's got to play like Craig Maddox, inside, outside. Not any time should he ever give them a pitch down the middle of the plate. His pitches have to be on the inside corner, the outside corner, or else he's not going to be successful. Because you mentioned his velocity. He never had a power arm, all right? He was never a power pitcher. But now, with a lack of velocity and the lack of control as far as the strike zone is concerned, I mean, that's really, really, really is going to hurt him in the long run. Because if he can't control his pitches and at least work the corners of the plate, then you have major problems. Because this is going to be a real bad. Like I said, you have 4 more years of Aaron Nola, and they've got to figure it out. Gotham, Mattingly, they've got to figure out what's wrong with him. And if they don't, they're in big trouble, because that'll be an albatross around their neck for the next 4 years. But again, he has to be pinpoint accurate and has to be able to, work the corners of the plate. He can no longer depend on probably pumping a fastball by a hitter, because he just doesn't have the stuff. He doesn't have the movement on his pitches either.
No, he doesn't have. You're right. You're exactly right. He doesn't have the movement, and he also his velocity is down about 3 miles an hour.
4 miles, exactly.
Yeah.
And when
so
you do not have the movement on your pitches, and you do not have the velocity, that's a recipe for disaster.
Roger?
Well, I'm looking at his record so far since he went to Lehigh Valley. He's got an ERA of 1.80. He's pitched 10 innings. He's given up 6 hits, 3 walks, and 10 strikeouts. And I know also that Keller is up there on a rehab, I think, Bill.
He's back. He was activated today.
He was, okay.
You're talking about Gage Woods, right? Is that who you're talking about?
Oh, no, I was talking about Painter. Painter.
Oh, you're talking about Painter. Well,
yeah.
Let's give him let's give him a couple more starts down there before we start.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he needs at least 4 starts down there in AAA. I mean, I don't want people to get overly excited with AAA. Remember, most pitchers come directly from AA to the big leagues.
You're right.
AAA is a lot of guys that are on the flip side of their career trying to get one more shot. So that's what you have to watch out for. I mean, let's not get overly excited right now, all right? These numbers are great in Lehigh Valley. But when he comes back up, he's got to have the velocity. He's got to have that. I think his confidence right now is shaken.
Really, could not agree with you more about the All-Star game. There really isn't an All-Star game anymore. With interleague play has destroyed the whole concept of the interleague play. But I can't let you get away from us without talking a little bit of basketball, because the Sixers just decided to make a major trade with Boston. And, holy smokes. Give us your thought on what happened there.
I was shocked that they were able to unload Paul George. Of course, they gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks.
Right.
But look, if the Sixers are in prime real estate late in the draft, that doesn't mean anything, because those picks are basically throwaway picks. If picking 24, 25 in the NBA draft. That's a crapshoot. All right. The other question is, now you look at the roster. All right. Let's look at the Sixers roster. Maxey, Edgecombe, Filion, Simons, and Jalen Brown. You have 5 guards right now. You have 5 basketballs.
Right.
Then you have to factor in Embiid. Now, can they find somebody out there that will take on the $61 million for the next 3 years? If they can do that, you got to give them the Houdini Award.
But you also got to find somebody to replace him, Billy. I mean, you can't play in the NBA today without having a big guy in the middle. You can't be a factor.
Is he a big guy in the middle? Does he play down on the blocks? He should be playing down on the block 70% of the time.
Right.
Is he in shape?
Hey, hello.
Hey, Steve, it's Frank. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Okay, I'm going to merge you in here. We're just finishing up with Billy Warndell out of Philly.
Alrighty.
The dinner table, Joel. All right? That's a simple solution to me. All right? That's a simple solution. Be in shape when you come to camp. Be in shape.
Well, that's the way it is, and everybody has said that about him for a long time. Okay, but I don't think it's going to change because I think that's his mentality. He's from another country. He's made millions, and he's going to live up to his life. I mean, the way he wants to be, and no matter what. I think he was in better shape this past year, but when you have back problems, leg problems, it doesn't get any better. So,
and he's 33 years old.
Right.
You don't get better with age. You're not like a fine wine.
Right.
I mean,
We got to talk about the Eagles, Don. With Bill.
Okay, I was going to go to the Flyers first, but we'll get a
Go to the Flyers first, then we'll go to the Eagles.
Go to it, Billy. What do you think about the Flyers? Because they seem to be in the right direction the last 30 games of the season.
Exactly. And the other thing is that offer sheet they gave the kid from Anaheim, $90 million for 5 years. He would be the highest paid player. Now Anaheim has an opportunity to match it. Carlson, I'm talking about.
Right.
He's a young player, 21 years old. They're all in to win a championship or be competitive to compete for a championship. It's no longer rebuild. They took the right step in the right direction this year, beating the Penguins in the first round. And, of course, they ran into a buzzsaw in the Carolina Panthers. But I think they said, look, we're going to go after this kid. We're going to offer him $90 million, and we're willing to give up 4 first-round draft picks. If it works out, look, those draft picks will be in the latter part of the first round. If you win the Stanley Cup, they're picking last in the round. So if they can do this and it works out, hey, this is what you want to do. They're committed to winning. All right? They got a taste of it last year with Rick Tocchet this first year. Now they have an opportunity to take that next step forward to compete for a Stanley Cup.
Well, let's go to Roger and go ahead. Roger, your Eagles, we'll go to them quickly.
No, I'll just say about the Flyers that you're exactly right, Bill, because that kid in 4 years will only be, 25 years old.
That's correct.
He'll be getting into the prime of his NHL career. But anyway,
4 years younger than Don Henderson.
Whoa!
No, I wanted to talk about the Eagles because you're involved with them every game and
right.
with Merle and I read a lot about them. I get a lot of stuff like you do, Don gets, and do you think that they have a weakness? Is it in the secondary, like some people think?
Well, I think you have to look at the safety position. I mean, everything up to that point, the defensive line, the linebackers, the edge rushers, the corners, but the safety position scares me right now. I think that they're probably going to kick the tires on a couple of trades in training camp. And if they don't feel comfortable with Cooper DeJean and people like that at safety. Now, DeJean is a great slot corner, but if they don't feel comfortable, I think Howie Roseman will look to get a veteran safety in there. Remember, Marcus Epps, Makuba's coming back from an injury. So Epps played well down the stretch. Makuba had flashes before he got hurt. But I still would like to have a veteran presence back there. I mean, a lot of people are counting on Epps, and they said in their base defense they'll go to Cooper DeJean. But right now, I would think that Howie's looking at bringing in a veteran safety at some point, whether it's by trade or pick up on the free agent market.
Billy, as always, you're the best. And before you run away, let everybody listen to how you get on your show every single day, and they can pick it up all around the country and around the world. Go to it.
All right, Don. WCAG 95.3 on the FM dial. WCAG 1520 on the AM dial. 95.3 WCAG.com, streaming worldwide. And you always can follow me on X, the Werndale, WERNDL. It's always a pleasure with you guys. I have a great time, and Frank is the best. Steve?
Hi, Francis. This is Charles from Concierge Home Health. How are you?
Good.
Hey, just checking. We had met back in May.
Yeah.
I know you've been working with Hillary.
Can you hold on? I'm on the air. Can you call me back in about 25 minutes?
Yeah, but really quick, can I come by at 12:30 tomorrow?
No, I won't be around.
Okay, I'll call you in 25 minutes
All
and
right,
we'll figure
thank
out.
you. Yeah, somebody called in and broke through the line.
That's what I figured when I heard that. Did you lose everything?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So you got to get Don back.
Yeah, I got him. He's on the horn now. Okay. Yep. Hold on. I got to get Stevie on here just a second.
Okay. Technical difficulty.
Yeah. Welcome to Florida.
Yeah. Just tied up the Phillies game with the home.
Hey, Frank.
Okay, Steve. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Son.
We're back.
Okay.
All right, back with us again. And so we dropped out momentarily, a little mechanical problem. And but Frank has always got things scored away, and Stevie K is ready to chat with us a little bit. We talked a lot of baseball the last time. We're going to continue to talk baseball. And Stevie, let's chat about the Rays. We right down to 4 games up in the American League East. The Yankees are really struggling. Give us an inside look at what you think. You see them much more than we do. Give us an idea. How good are these Rays?
Well, they've got some weaknesses in the bullpen and a little bit on the power side of the offense. They can score a run, but they could probably use another big bat. But I think, coming into the trade deadline, they're rolling along. Being led first by the starting pitching and some great defense behind them, and the ability to generate runs. I mean, the big three in the lineup, Caminero, Diaz, and Aranda would be the 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4 hitters in any lineup. So they're able to piece in a little bit around that. Cedric Mullins has been hot as heck.
Yes, sir.
Does that work out okay for you, Frank?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Billy.
I mentioned your name, but I got cut off.
Yeah. So we had, whenever we have a flash electrical problem, it cuts the phone lines off too.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a million.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
East, the Mets have just really not done well, obviously, and the rest of the NL East. I know that Washington's up 5-0 over Houston now, and we're watching the Phillies and the Reds. And what do you think about the NL East? And I mean, we talked about the AL East. What about the NL East? What do you think?
I'm not surprised that Atlanta finally had some struggles. They did really well early, got off to a hot start, even though they were injured. But as the season goes on, Strider heads back to the IL. They lose Acuna. It just gets hard to overcome massive injuries, and they're hanging in there. Of course, they're still 2 games up. The Phillies have brought themselves within 2 games. But as you guys recall, prior to the year, I said the team to look out for in that division was the Marlins. I liked what Peter Bendix was doing down there. I thought that he had the right formula of youth, good arms, a nice little lineup going, and some good defense. My only question about Miami is what's happening to Atlanta right now, and that is if Miami, a team that does not have a high payroll, does have some poor performance or get hit by the injury button, my prediction would be bumped. But as of now, they've stayed pretty healthy. They got Kyle Stillers back after he was missing in the beginning of the year. It took him a little while to get going, but he's got going. And that Otto Lopez and Xavier Edwards are, showing that they're for real. And that team is putting up some runs. They got a great pitching staff. The bullpen does a nice job. That's the team I like in that AL East or the NL East. It'll be interesting when the Braves start getting healthy again. And one variable also is teams that have a little bit of money have a little bit of advantage at the trade deadline because they're generally more willing to deal prospects because they don't have to worry about the surplus value, so to speak, of what they're giving up to get what they think they need to win now.
Stevie, nobody knows statistics better than you, and Roy and I had a little bit of a difference of opinion about the last couple of games between the Yankees and the Rays, and that was, I just don't think that you can have, 17 strikeouts 2 games. I mean, he talked about it being a landmark effect that's never been done before. Well, that's all well and good, but to me, you don't get that many at bats. So if you're going to give away 17 bats in every game, striking out, and you're not even going to put the ball in play, how do you win?
Well, the old adage is an outs and out. 17 strikeouts. If it's Aaron Judge striking out 3 times and Giancarlo Stanton striking out 3 times, and the other 2 times they hit 2 3-run homers, that's a different story. But when you take Giancarlo Stanton out of that lineup and you take Aaron Judge out of that lineup, then you have 17 strikeouts. You don't have the guys in there outside of Jazz Chisholm, Bellinger, Ben Rice, and maybe Goldschmidt that you're hoping can, hit the ball out of the park. That's a difficult thing. You're a team that relies on the home run, and then you take away Judge and Stanton. It's difficult. I wouldn't worry. If you're the Yankees, you got to worry about when is Judge going to come back. Nobody knows. When is Stanton going to come back? Nobody knows. On top of that, you lost Carlos Rodon and you lost Max Fried. Striking out isn't what the Yankees should be looking at in a 2-game span or anything. What the Yankees got to be looking at is how do they fill the void of all the starts they're losing from Fried, all the starts they're losing from Rodon, and the offensive production they're losing from Stanton and Judge. That should be their focus, not a 2-game, 17 strikeout per game. If Cashman's looking at that and trying to remedy that, that's probably not a winning formula to get yourself straight again. He's got to go out there and find a way, maybe trade for Mitch Garver over from, try to get him now that he's getting healthy. Maybe find a way to go get Luis Arias, to add a little bit something to that lineup. Cashman's got to go find some guys to replace. Maybe swing a nice deal for Joe Ryan. Maybe go out there and to San Diego and maybe deal some prospects and try to make a big deal with San Diego. Maybe target somebody from San Francisco. The Yankees have a decent farm system. They got some prospects, but they do have some holes to fill. So the 17 strikeouts is a concern, especially back-to-back games. But Cashman's got some seriously bigger issues than that.
Roger?
Who do you think at the trading deadline as of now, who do you think of the top teams are sellers or buyers, or of any team?
Yeah, the Mets would be a team to to keep an eye on. Of course, guys, like Luke Weave or possibly Bo Bichette. Those two guys right there. Detroit, based on what they do in the next couple weeks, and they got Tariq Skubal. You've got Gleyber Torres. You've got a few relievers in that bullpen. That would be another team to keep an eye on. Washington always a team that they're just on the periphery, but they've got some players that they could move. The San Francisco Giants would love to strike a deal with one of their players that's making some money. They may have to take some money back, in the process. But guys like William Thomas would be a target for a few teams. Even though he has a lot of money come owing to him, there's teams like the Mets that can maybe flip a Marcus Semien or something like that in a deal. The Rockies have a few guys. Jake McCarthy's been having a great season. That catcher, I think his name's Hunter Goodman, got 20-some home runs right now. He's a young guy under team control, and he would bring a lot. So, and then you got, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they've lost Connor Griffin and they've lost Spencer Horwitz. You got Brandon Lau sitting there having a great year in his last year of his deal. And these GM guys are going to have some tough decisions to make. You look at your farm system and you look at where you're at. Is it worth it to try to add on and make the run, or is it better to sell and restock the farm and be better next year or the year after? It's some tough decisions for GMs, especially in the American League, when you look how tight everything is, not only in the division, but in that wild card.
No question about it. I mean, look at the Centrals in particular. I mean, well, first of all, who would have thought the White Sox this time last year would be in first place, at this moment? But you go White Sox, Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit, all those teams are within, 7 games of first place. They're all playing, pretty good baseball. And I would think they were all would be looking at a player that could maybe turn them around a little bit the last second half of the season. What do you think?
Yeah, you're exactly right. But this is where the GMs have to make a tough decision. The Minnesota Twins are an example. They started a sell-off last year, and they're sitting there this year, and you're looking at Joe Ryan, and you're thinking to yourself, this guy could bring back an absolute haul for you,
Right.
And Joe Ryan would be, outside of Tariq Skubal, maybe the most attractive pitcher on the market as a starter. So these are the decisions that GMs are going to have to make. The Twins and Detroit, at the end of the year, Tariq Skubal saying goodbye. I don't think they're going to be able to sign him to the kind of contract that he's going to get. They're going to be in competition with teams that are going to be offering him a lot of money. But who knows how this salary cap's going to come in, or however the CBA, I should say, is going to be worked out. And GMs have to consider that too. On a guy like Tariq Skubal, there's no guarantee that you're going to even have a qualifying offer on him based on the new collective bargaining agreement. So the Detroit Tigers have a tough decision to make with a guy like Tariq Skubal. Do they hang on to him and recalibrate after the CBA is negotiated? Do they trade him and bring a haul of young guys in? Is that even going to be a palatable thing with the labor strike coming up? So a lot to digest there.
But Stevie, who would think at this part of the season, let's go back to the beginning, ending of spring training, that Detroit would be 10 games under 500? I mean, that would be hard to conceive. In fact, when they start the season in April.
Well, a lot of people would disagree with you and say, look how they finished the year. They would say, look how they finished last year, for about the last 60, 70 games, and
right.
barely snuck in. And almost, Cleveland played out of their mind. Mind you, Cleveland did play out of their mind, but Detroit did not play well. As a matter of fact, after about 60 games this year, you take the last 60 or 70 last year and the first 60 or 70 this year, I think they were one of the worst in baseball. But they seem to have righted the ship, and they have a tough decision to make in Detroit. And I really don't know if I was the GM. I have no idea what decision I would make. I guess the next 2 to 3 weeks will define some of these questions for us.
Roger?
Steve, we talked, I guess, I don't know if it was last time or previous, we talked about the CBA and the possible strike. In your opinion, what are your feelings about what will happen When do you think anything can happen, or what will happen? What do you think?
Well, my position though is that it's going to be a long, it'll probably be a long labor outage when the owners have to get their game together in conjunction with the players. Before it was, the owners are pretty much unified. I think you're seeing a fracture in that. I think the teams like the Dodgers, the Giants, that have these big TV deals and this massive revenue stream, and that shows up in their payroll, versus the teams like the Cleveland, the Pittsburgh, the Cincinnati's, the Athletics, the Rays, the Marlins. The disparity is quite high. And when you start the year and you're trying to all go for the same prize, you certainly want to have more equality. The other equality statement that I always bring up to people is it's not so much that you can't win without spending. We've all seen teams be competitive without the big payroll. The problem is the equality over the offseason. You want your team, if you're a fan of whatever team, to be able to sell their city, their stadium, their team to any free agent out there and have a chance to sign them like you can in the NFL, the NBA, the NHL. You also don't want to ever lose players because of financial restraints that you just can't meet. I go back to the 90s Cleveland Indians when they had Albert Bell and Jim Thome and Kenny Lawson and Carlos Baerga and Sandy Alomar and on and on. And one by one, Manny Ramirez, they all left. They were all for money. They all left, and then later on, C.C. Sabathia, Cliff Lee, and it just continued. Baseball would be best if these guys, if teams would produce these young players universally across the land. Little kids got an Albert Bell or a Jim Thome jersey that he could wear for 12, 13 years with one organization. And that's what baseball's got to get back to, that period of fandom where that guy, you don't have to worry about losing if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates with Garrett Cole, you don't have to worry about losing him. If you have Paul Skeens and you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, you're not looking out there saying, well, it's obvious he's going to be a Dodger, a Yankee, a Giant, or one of the other big teams. And that's the equality that I think has to be worked out. That's why I think there's going to be a long labor stoppage, because I don't think you can continue the sport the way it's going now between players, small market, mid-market owners, and large market owners. You've got to rein this in to get to the equality not only on the field but in the off season.
See, from a technical standpoint, they spent a lot of time last night, and you've been, at the trop since the beginning. I don't exactly understand. I think they must have done a really marvelous job getting that stadium rebuilt and ready to go for this year. But they were talking about something about the fact that they were going to put some kind of a layer or seal over the glass, or that they were having trouble, again, following the ball when it goes up as a fly ball or a pop fly or a foul ball or whatever. I didn't exactly understand what they're going to do. You're there all the time. What are they going to do to the stadium to make it a little bit more secure?
That's the only thing that it did was, that there used to be like a 2-ply roof, and now there's a single ply. I'm not sure what they would be able to do this year. That's a major undertaking, even to
Right.
it, But you could always go. Well, basically, during day games, it gets a little bit bright in there, and that would be the issue. During the day game, I love it. I think it's got a real nice look to it, a real nice feel to it. I haven't seen too many. I've been down at the Trop a lot. I don't see too many balls being lost, so I think the hitters like it too. To be honest with you, I think they have a better view of the baseball coming to the, coming all around, coming to the plate. A better hitter's circle at the batter's eye right now is it being a little bit brighter in there, a little bit of natural light. I think everybody feels a little bit better. That's a good question. I'm not sure what they would do, but I would assume they would do something. What's the opposite of bleach? Maybe like how you rub up a baseball. They'll have to go up there and rub it.
Well, they talked about it. They talked about it at Great League last night, but I talked about putting another layer, another seal or something to make it more compatible with being able to see the ball, more easily. But anyway, that's that. I just thought maybe you're there all the time. Maybe you would be able to explain it to me better than they did last night. I don't really know what the answer is, but I know having been there many times and knowing the early days when they really had trouble. And it seems like when the Yankees are there was always something. There was somebody either hitting the foul ball into the roof or there's the light problem or something. The Yankees always focus on the roof and at the Trop. But all the times I've watched games and been there, it never really seemed to me that it was that overwhelming. To me, I didn't think so anyway.
No, it really is. I've seen a lot of baseball down there, and watching baseball here, we've seen balls in many of these stadiums now hit speakers. There's many of these stadiums that have the guy wires and they have the catwalks. Sorry, New York, everybody can't be Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park or the perfect pristine outdoor park. Every park has its little quirks in it, and hitters will complain or fielders will complain. There's a lot of little things that people complain about, but overall, I think the Trop is a nice place to go catch a game. I think it's a great place for people to, for the teams to play there.
Roger?
Well, that's good to hear. We've heard so much about the issues of the Trop. I mean, I was there a few times years ago, and I enjoyed it, going there. I mean, I saw maybe 3 or 4 games in my lifetime, but I liked it. I liked being there. I thought it was really neat, and it's not like Dodger Stadium you go to Fenway, and I look at it now, and I've had, kids in classes that have been to Boston, on vacation, and they talk about, what an experience, and the way they've even changed the area around Fenway to make it even more of a fan experience. So, I like tradition. The thing, getting back to the TV and let's talk about the Braves. I mean, are they a big market, middle market, or small market, in your opinion? Because they have gotten back on television in over-the-air over-the-air TV for many games this year.
Yeah, they're a big market team. They have their financials are released publicly since you could buy their stock. They make a lot of money in all facets. I mean, the stock just keeps going up. You can see that they make, they're showing a really nice profit on the little plaza that they have outside on offices and restaurants and tickets and
The Battery.
The Battery, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. That's and by the way, that's the model that every team is following. The Rays down here, the whole purpose of what they're doing is to be like the Braves. You go out to San Diego, beautiful park. If you ever been out to San Diego, beautiful park, great area right around it. You can go sit at Tony Gwynn's statue, not even buy a ticket, and you can see the game, and you can walk around. There's restaurants, hotels, and everything. I've been to several other cities that are like that. But yeah, Atlanta, there's not much restraint for Atlanta for what they could do on a baseball field. They've got a lot of revenue.
Steve, is the new ownership going to open up the upstairs at the Trop, or are they going to keep it as it has been, although it's not covered like it was? At least it doesn't appear to be on television. It doesn't appear to be covered. But are they going to open the upstairs?
Well, it's interesting that in years past, Major League Baseball basically had you define your capacity prior to the year, and they were very strict on not, opening anything. If you said your capacity is 25.5, that was it. Well, Evan Longoria is having his, weekend this weekend. They've opened the upper deck. So this weekend, when you see the Trop, the upper deck will be open, which is surprising to me. But yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it would be a losing proposition to open that upper deck, maybe on weekends. I'm not sure if Major League Baseball would like it, but upper deck or no upper deck on Sundays, and Monday night to Thursday night, that place is not going to draw that many people.
Hey, Steve, I got a question for you. When Ken Welsh ran for mayor, his promise was to open the oil field and get that stadium done. Well, that's one of the reasons he's losing the election this time. But Charlie Crist now comes in and says he's going to do everything he can to get it open. But we already have a notice of intent with Hillsborough County. What's your thoughts on this whole thing?
My thoughts have always been, as I've mentioned on here before, I have a lot of fatigue because it's because I grew up in Cleveland and I had to deal with the Build the Dome committee. I had to deal with Cleveland going and leaving to every other city in America. Cleveland wasn't a major league city. They were going to lose the team. And I got fatigued then when they finally got Jacobs Field built, not Progressive Field.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come down here to Tampa in 1998, and I've been dealing with stadium issues ever since. My feeling is, that most people have the same frustration I have. I think the Tampa site is going to easily, barring another catastrophe, it'll be in Tampa. I believe it'll be in Tampa or out of state. If it doesn't work here in Tampa and the plan they have, I fully expect the Rays to move. There is no more giving Pinellas or Orlando or anybody else in this area a chance. It's time to get the team somewhere where the appetite is much greater than it is here. So that's my prediction. Either this thing in Tampa works or they're gone. They're out. They're going to just leave the state, which is, I think, the best thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any idea where it might be?
You mean in Tampa?
No, I mean where it would be if they move out of state.
They would look at the expansion, and one of those expansion teams would first come to Major League Baseball with an ownership proposal or a proposal. Maybe in Montreal, you've always heard about that. Maybe in Nashville, Charlotte or Nashville. Somewhere in like San Antonio, somewhere Major League Baseball would feel comfortable. Portland, one of those cities that's vying for the expansion franchise that has an appetite to build a stadium and basically roll out the red carpet. I think at this point, the fatigue also goes to Rob Manfred's office.
Stevie, we got 3 minutes to go in this segment, and just a thought or two coming down the home stretch now as we look at not only the trading deadline, but also the second half of the season. The Dodgers is faded complete. You don't have to worry about them. Some of your thoughts on who do you think, can the Braves hold on? Can the Phillies come up? Your thoughts on the teams that you're projecting?
Yeah, I mean, man, health, like I always say, health is a huge variable. But teams, I continue to watch the Miami Marlins, and I want to see how they operate at the trade deadline and see if some of these guys like Otto Lopez. I'm ready, sir.
All righty. I'm going to merge you right in.
Can they catch themselves and rebound? And the Phillies, with Don Mattingly in the dugout, they've basically saved their season, and they've been coming on strong. So, the National League East, the American League East are both, like we started with, are two great things. And then we'll have to wait and see how these wild cards fall and how the Twins do the Tigers and how the trading deadline comes out.
Home run, and Reds lead the Phillies now 3-2. Roger, you got a minute to go. We'll let you get the last question to Stevie.
Okay, getting back to what you were saying about the Braves and the battery. What's interesting, Steve, is I had mentioned earlier I was at the Gwinnett Memphis game last night over at the Braves AAA. And I talked to Don and Frank about this when I found out about it last year. It's amazing. They have the same setup there that like in the Battery with the condos and hotels, shops, and everything on a much lesser arena. But the ownership of the Gwinnett Stripers, I think they own 53 or 52 minor league teams. Wow. Oh, yeah. And I found this out last year because it's I guess like it's a limited partnership, an LLC. But I met this woman who worked in sales. So when the Stripers are home, she works here. When they're away, she goes to Birmingham and works because they own Birmingham. And if you research it, you're going to find it's unbelievable. This group has 50-some minor league teams that they own. I'll tell you, one was, I think, Harrisburg, and I believe Portland, Maine. So there you go.
Well, you've given me a rabbit hole to crawl down. And you know I'll take advantage of that.
I'm glad I could give you a nugget.
You did.
It's about time we gave you something. You give us all the answers week after week. Well, Stevie, thank you.
You're the best.
Right,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you so very, very much, Steve. Great having you on as always, and a lot of great baseball knowledge. Mike Zimzak, who is in the same category as Stevie is in baseball, Mike Zimzak is in the world of soccer. And of course, with the World Cup going on right now and what happened the last couple of days, we're going to get Mike right on here. And first of all, Mike, when we talk about the game and the things that happened with 30-some plus million people watching it, the all-time record for Fox on 2 games, the semifinal and, of course, this one. But secondly, we look at what happened now from a coaching standpoint and from an organizational standpoint. There seems to be a lot of question now about the coach. Is he going to agree to talk and stay? Is the organization going to stay compact the way it is now, or is it going to get all jumbled up again? Give us your expertise in that area first.
I thought y'all wanted to talk about cricket.
I can't afford that.
Don, you just unloaded on me on so many things. Let me kind of start and get as much as I can as I can.
Go do it.
I remember. I think organization. Let me rewind. As much as this was on Mauricio Pochettino for his lack of scouting, I think Belgium scouted us a lot better than we scouted them. And they had a plan to beat the U.S. men's national team, and we didn't. Mauricio Pochettino's been offered another contract, and to be honest, if he wants to take it, I'm fine with it. I think that it does 2 things. Number one, we've got an effective head coach who has shown that he can win games in the World Cup, even though we didn't get beyond where we ever have. I think that he is good, and he showed me something. I have doubted him, and I've doubted him publicly on this station. What I saw on the group stage was phenomenal.
Down on this corner.
Down on the corner.
Somebody talking in the background here.
Yeah, that's not me.
Gotta go.
That said, I think he may get another club opportunity in the next couple of years. And by the U.S. trying to sign him to another contract, what we're doing is indemnifying ourselves against his eventual departure. Whatever club is going to have to pay us a lot of money to take him off of our hands. And that's fine. You got a good coach, that's what you do. As far as the game went, Belgium scouted us a lot better than we scouted them. And I hope everybody on the U.S. men's national team side learns from them. They looked very much at what we did and came up with a plan to defeat that. And
forced us into errors to the tune of a 4-1 win. 3 of the goals were complete and utter defensive miscues that they forced us into. The first 2, Tim Ream was the last man back. He should have, with his experience, been able to cover better. The third was a complete and utter brain fart, for lack of a way to put it, from Matt Freese. I don't know why you come out and make that play. Trying to be too aggressive to get goals back when you're down 3-1. That's why I know he did it. And that turned into an absolute howler. And then the fourth one was that we were pushing forward and they just beat us on the counterattack.
Roger? Yeah. Well, how about you're talking about the scouting, but was the team not prepared to go on the field in that game, Mike?
I think the team was prepared as well as they could have been. I think Belgium did a better job of terror scouting us than we did. Their decision to sit down Romelu Lukaku, who I didn't think was going to start, but Jeremy Doku and Kevin De Bruyne, their biggest up-and-coming star, and the guy who has been the former FIFA Player of the Year, to sit them down and say that we're not going to start them. That was a huge call. To say we're not going to start them, we're going to go with these other guys who we think are more athletic. They scouted us better than we scouted them. I don't know whether they just didn't see that coming. The U.S. Mauricio Pochettino, the team didn't see that coming. And what Belgium was ever able to do for the first half of the game set the tone. Even when we went down and scored late with the Malik Tillman free kick, they came immediately back down, scored again, and so we go in 2-1 at halftime. And the U.S. was scrambling afterwards, and they just never were able to find an answer.
Mike, you and I talked, during the early parts of the World Cup and the preparation for the 3 games before they got into the 16. And one of the things that you were concerned about was defense, and primarily you were concerned about where they stood as far as the goals were concerned. Well, Matt Freese, he froze. I mean, we're in a situation here where the ratings, they gave all the ratings on the players of the team up and down, and of course you got an F for the poorest performance. But until the Belgian game, then he crashed and burned in epic fashion. And it's fair to ask, why Matt Turner didn't get a chance to play? Well, he didn't have a chance to play in the games prior to that to speak of. Why would he play in that Belgian game when he hadn't been playing?
Well, Matt Turner played in the Turkey game. Matt Turner was our starter in the Turkey game. Matt Freese was selected because Matt Turner might be a better shot stopper, but based on the way that they play and playing and the passing, Matt Freese is a better goalkeeper with the ball at his feet. The difference in between his ability to stop shots and Matt Turner's ability to stop shots, but what he gives you from a distribution standpoint, caused them to say, we'll go with Matt Freese.
Well, is this the best we have? Are these two the two best we have?
At this point, yes.
Okay.
If you ask me about what we might have in 4 years, I'm not 100% sure. But at this juncture, yeah. They're the best that we've got. And honestly, up until this game, Matt Freese has been really, 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 really good. He stopped shots. He kept the U.S. men in games. His distribution, his ability to get the ball out, start counterattacks have been great. He has done, up until that moment, everything that you would want a goalkeeper to do. I think the pressure got to him a little bit. And he's a younger guy. He's in his mid-20s, which might sound old for a outfield player, but for a goalkeeper is relatively young. He'll have a chance to get it right and get back. Is he Timmy Howard? No. Could he be the next good American keeper? Absolutely.
Roger?
Okay, Mike, getting back to the coach. Are there equal to or better than American coaches that you're familiar with that they wouldn't have to go outside the country to get a coach for the U.S. national?
The funny thing is, the best American coach is coach in Canada. And he got snubbed, and he doesn't want the job because it's like he got passed over.
Yeah.
If you told me Jesse March was going to take over the job from Mauricio Pochettino, I'd be fine with that. But we snubbed him to hire Mauricio Pochettino. We snubbed him to hire Beerhalter, and he's took the Canada job, and he's like, "Nah, I'm not coming back there and coaching." I think that he would be phenomenal, but he's not going to take the job. So really, I don't think there is an American coach who's capable of doing a better job right now than Mauricio Pochettino is doing. I'd be very interested if he leaves to see what the former Philadelphia Union coach Jim Curtin could do with his job. I really think he's a great coach.
You always said that. Yeah, am I correct that the U.S. soccer has moved or is moving to Fayetteville, Georgia? Is that right?
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
If Rogers, you asked me and you said Mauricio Pochettino's leaving tomorrow. I'll give you a couple. I'll give you a couple of guys I'd like. One is American. I would like to see what Jim Curtin could do with that job. The other is Senegalese. I'd be very interested to see what oh God, his name is escaping me right now. But the former Senegalese coach could do with that team.
Okay.
I think that they are both the options if Mauricio Pochettino leaves. The only other one that I've got is the former German coach. And Germany did not do well in this World Cup. But I really think Julian Nagelsmann is a great manager. He's young. He can tap into the Gen Z millennial thing and do well. And I'd be very interested to see what he could do. But at this point, we've already offered Mauricio Pochettino another contract.
Right.
And if he's willing to stick and stay, keep him on. Consistency is a benefit. Let's not hire another coach unless we absolutely need to. And if we do, then we have options.
Well, you mentioned the Berhalter situation, which he was one of the highest rated players in the tournament that they played. He got an A- for his performance.
You're talking about Sebastian, who is his son, not Greg, who was former mayor.
Yes, Sebastian. That's what I'm talking about. He got an A- for his performance during the course of the games, and so I don't know. It's interesting to me that, you know, first of all, they criticized maybe he was too aggressive, maybe he didn't do this, maybe he did what. All the time coming in, you know, and all the negotiations before he actually signed, you thought, and I think most people thought, that this was a move, that this was a guy that was really going to step in and reconstruct this program over the next 8 or 10 years. Not necessarily this particular World Cup, but maybe by the next World Cup, this organization would be in a much better position to challenge the major teams around the world.
Mauricio Pochettino put us in a better position than I thought he was going to. Yes, we can lament the fact that this is a home World Cup, and we had the opportunity to probably go further than we have before.
Right.
Even if we beaten Belgium, I'm not confident that we could get past Spain. That's a really, 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 really good team. The way that we played in the first 3 group stage games and against Bosnia was a complete revelation. Having watched them and all of what Mauricio Pochettino did leading up to the World Cup, when they went out against Paraguay and were attacking and were aggressive and got out to a 3-goal lead, I was not expecting that. It was phenomenal how they played against Australia. The next match, a 2-0 victory. It just reinforced what I had seen from them against Paraguay. Even though we did lose to Turkey, he played all of his backups. And the team was down, and they came back, got it to 2, and then a last-second goal against a Turkish squad that was playing for their reputations. And then, again, how they played against Bosnia and Herzegovina, I think this translated to the team themselves. I think we got a little overconfident. I think that when we went into the Belgium match, and they may have too, thinking, we got this. This is an old Belgium squad. This is not the team that we played in 2014. They are not nearly those guys. We got this. And they were a lot more ready to play us than we were to play them.
Roger?
Mike, let's talk a little bit about the extensive coverage still going on, obviously, by Fox. I think they have done an outstanding job. The only question I had was on the American game. I thought the pregame, having Carly Lloyd on, I guess it's Carly Hollins now, but she went by her maiden name. But I think having people like that are really informative and bring a lot of information and obviously experience. The only problem I had with Rebecca Lowe was I had some trouble understanding her with her British accent. And I may be alone in that. That's my only criticism. I had some trouble understanding her. And of course, I think they had to get her from NBC because she's full-time with NBC. But I just thought Fox went out of their way to really inform the public and the viewing audience. about the games and the tournament?
I have said to you all over multiple World Cups that we have talked about together. Once a channel, be it ESPN, be it Fox, be it whoever, starts to cover a World Cup, it changes a lot of things, and how they choose to frame it dictates how we're going to look at it. I think that Fox has done a tremendous job framing this World Cup. I have loved the interplay, to start with, I have loved the interplay in between Thierry Henry and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. They are two immensely interesting individuals. And in reality, they are who you think they are. Zlatan is who you think he is. Thierry Henry is who you think he is. I've had the opportunity to meet Thierry Henry. I haven't met Zlatan. But they are who you think they are. And I think that as the anchors of the analysis, they've been great. Rebecca Lowe is somebody who the American Soccer Watching public is very, very familiar with. I will criticize Fox a little bit because they will give voice to any former American soccer player, anybody with an American accent who covers soccer. And I'm not a huge Alexi Lawless fan. I think that he was a halfway decent player for the U.S. He got his transfer over to AC Milan. He's come back and been a average player for MLS and a below average executive in MLS. But because of his status with that 1994 team, he's this player that everybody goes to. And I think there are better people that you get than him. And I think we've seen that throughout the World Cup. Rebecca Lowe, you may not be able to understand what she says, but she is a great host. But she's also a default option because she's, for lack of a better way to put it, she's a pretty blonde woman with a British accent. And that's who we're going to go for. But she does know what she's doing, and she does know how to do that. I've watched her on the Premier League mornings coverage, and she's very, very good.
Mike, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. The bottom line was it's all started in the negotiations. One world-class soccer fan picked up the tab. He said, look, whatever it costs us to bring the coach in here, whatever it's going to cost us to reorganize the program, we're going to do it. Now, is that going to continue? Is he going to continue to put that kind of money? I mean, he picked up the tab for the whole thing, correct?
It wasn't one person. It was multiple people. It was kind of the same sort of deal that got Lionel Messi to Miami.
Okay.
There was, I believe, a $8 million buyout to Chelsea just to get him over. I think that there is enough proof of concept that should we make a decision to move on from Mauricio Pochettino, which I don't think that, there's a contract in front of him. Should he choose to sign it, there is a massive buyout clause. We're talking we're going back to NCAA football sorts of things where you hire a coach, you put a buyout clause in there that indemnifies you against if that coach decides to leave.
Right.
Pretty much indemnified if, and that was the offer. We're trying to indemnify the U.S. men's national team if Mauricio Pochettino chooses to leave. It gives us enough to hire whoever should come next and basically pay off his entire contract.
No shortage of funds.
Well, this is a good thing. And as I said when they hired him, we had somebodies on the U.S. women's team side who was willing to help us get Emma Hayes, who was the best available women's team coach. And we saw what happened with her with the U.S. women's team in the Olympics last year. And now we're going to go into a World Cup and an Olympic cycle with the women starting next year. And the U.S. women with Emma Hayes will be the favorites to win that World Cup. Her counterpart on the men's side at the time, the best available coach was Mauricio Pochettino. Didn't think we could get him. We got him.
Now keep him.
Well, yes, I would love to see him stay for another 4 years. But in a lot of cases, especially on the men's side more than the women's side, sometimes there is a virtue to letting somebody coach a World Cup cycle and then getting rid of them. I was looking back at what happened when the U.S. men's national team hired Jurgen Klinsmann back in 2011. Coming off the 2010 World Cup, we hired Jurgen Klinsmann. We thought that he was going to be the answer. He was the best available coach. He had helped rebuild Germany, and everything was good. They hired him. He got in 2014 the U.S. men, beat Ghana, tied Portugal, lost to Germany. Second in the group, we get to Belgium and lose to Belgium. Shocker, history repeats itself. In the middle of that tournament, just like they did with Mauricio Pochettino, they offered him a new contract because there were a lot of other teams looking about him. They wanted to see if they could nail him down. He took the contract and actually got fired 18 months later because the results just weren't there. I love what Mauricio Pochettino did with this this iteration of the U.S. men's national team. I would love to see what he might do if he had another cycle and time to do it. I'm not 100% sure that he's going to stay there. I'm also very concerned there is something that he's going to have to do that they didn't have to do this time around. We didn't have to qualify for the World Cup. We were the hosts. We were already in that. There is a huge difference when you have to go down to Mexico and play games in Mexico, when you have to go to Guatemala, when you have to go to Honduras and play games there to qualify for the World Cup. This is something he didn't have to go through, and his pre-World Cup results were not that good. I'm not 100% sure that I trust this guy to take us down to El Salvador, Honduras, Panama. We saw what the Mexicans were doing to the English and the semi-regular fireworks show and mariachi concert that started the minute that they got there in the Azteca. I'm not sure if he can prepare a team to go there. And let me back up. I think England winning in Mexico, in Mexico City at the Azteca, is one of the greatest results in the World Cup. How they managed to do that in the circumstances, when I tell you, gentlemen, that was the craziest game. That thing was crazier than a Tijuana donkey show. And I don't know for a fact because I've only heard about Tijuana donkey.
Yeah. Tick tock.
We'll let you. Oh, we're out of time. We only have 1 minute to go. Okay. Frank, thank you very much. Frank McCall, our executive producer, gives us the word. Once again, Wade, thank you very, very much. I'll tell you, it's been an interesting 2 weeks of soccer, and you touched on a lot of different items, and we'll get one more as we go along next week and the week after. Thank you very, very much. Roger, always a pleasure, and all our guests tonight, thank you very, very much for being with us. Frank, close us out.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This program is brought to you each and every night of the week in grateful appreciation to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, the men and women of police and fire services, the doctors and nurses, first responders. These programs are dedicated to those who have lost their lives in line of duty. Deputy Robert Anthony Carroll, Patrolman David Curtis, Patrolman Jeffrey Colcap, Patrolman Jeffrey Yazowitz, Sergeant Thomas Batinger, San Diego Officer Mike Henler, Sergeant Thomas Wilson, Charlotte County Sheriff's Department, Detective Randy Bell, Detective Ricky Childers, Patrolman Charlie Condit, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Deputy Chief Mike Godwin, Philadelphia Fire Department, Lieutenant Joyce Craig Lewis, Philadelphia Fire Department, Sergeant James O'Connor, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Chris LeVake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Mike Zerba, Newcastle County Police, Patrolman Anafa Crispin, Lakeland PD, Deputy Josh Meyer, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Captain Matt Laterno, Philadelphia Fire Department, Captain Chris Leach, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Ardith Hope, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Jerry Ficus, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Jimmy Ford, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Al Hogle, Longboat Key Police Department, Deputy Mike Hargrove, Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, Trooper Chelsea Richards, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Joe Bullock, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Zachary Ben, Florida Highway Patrol, Sergeant Chris Fitzgerald, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Ramon Mendez, Philadelphia Police Department, Chief Corey Compantier, Buffalo Creek Fire Department, Deputy Ronnie Monovicinski, Manatee County Sheriff's Department, Patrolman Zachary Butterfield, Bradenton PD, and Corporal Timothy O'Connor, Pennsylvania State Police, and Pennsylvania Trooper Mike Baharick. My brothers and sisters, though you may be 10-7 at this point in time, sometime we'll be 10-10 at the table of the Lord. Until that time, may the roads rise up to meet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the rains fall softly on your fields and the sun shine lightly on your face. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hands. Good night. God bless and have a great week.